Hello, my dear friends. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. And for all of you who celebrate, happy Easter. Really excited to be here with you today. And I thought that today was the best day to give you a special Starbucks review of a drink which is frankly so amazing and so beautifully colored for Easter. And it is the iced lavender cream oatmilk matcha latte, which is insanity. It's insanity to say. So you just kind of like the lavender matcha latte. They know what that is. How stunning is that for Easter? So you've probably seen the pictures of it. Here's a picture of what it is supposed to look like. So there really should be a pretty pronounced like lavender cream presence here. And some of the lattes that I've ordered over the last like 3 weeks, spoiler alert, I've purchased about 10 or 12 of these lattes. Oh my gosh, I was sitting in the car today, like after I picked one of these up, and I was like, just doing the math, because this drink is extraordinarily expensive. And if you haven't been at Starbucks recently, let me explain to you, the prices have gone up to almost an extreme level. So I'm a huge Starbucks person, but even for me, like this is a little out of my price range. And I wish it wasn't so delicious, but in fact it is. Close parentheses. Some of the ones I've gotten, there has been a bit more pronounced lavender, but the ones, most of them don't look that way. So the sweet barista actually made me another one because I explained to her, I'm like, I'm gonna put a picture of this on YouTube. Can you try to make it with a more pronounced lavender? And she was like, honestly, I don't think I can, because the lavender cream, which you can kind of see here, it's poking through right in here. The lavender cream is, I think, heavier. And she said, because I always get my lattes with like light ice. I don't want the cup filled up with ice. Yeah. And I usually drink it well before that ice begins to melt. She said, especially with light ice, that cream is just going to sink. Now, she said, as time goes on, it will actually become more pronounced. And I have no idea why that is, but she is correct. I'm starting to see it kind of like come up toward the top here. So I don't really know all the science and mathematics on that. But if you're curious as to why it doesn't necessarily look like the amazing picture, I'm sure that picture has been doctored a little bit. And is probably undrinkable. Here you can see the lavender a little bit more in this, right in there. So yeah, I have ordered about 12 of these, and these are gonna set you back a pretty penny. Now this is a grande, and in my neck of the woods, it really depends on, it may very well be that the prices fluctuate from region to region, although I'm not sure about that. But even if they don't, the taxes in your particular area will make a difference as to how expensive any beverage is from Starbucks. Ours isn't terrible, but it isn't great here in Charlottesville. So I want to say that a grande set me back $6.32, which in my opinion is absurd. Do the math on that. 10 or 12 of these $6.32 beverages over 3 weeks? Like, that's insanity, right? I mean, between us, I've had some gift cards from friends over the last few weeks, partly for my birthday, partly for just random. And so I've been kind of using those down, because if it was just my money, I would probably be like, oh my God, like, delicious or not, this is insanity, right? Unfortunately, this is so delicious. This beverage tastes like spring, and it looks like spring too. It's crazy how delicious this is. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the very first time that Starbucks has brought out this particular drink. Now, They have done matcha lattes in the past, but not with the lavender cream. And they are automatically making it with oat milk. And oat milk is a recent addition to their list of alternative milks that they have on hand. I want to say that they added it maybe 6 months ago or something like that. So this spate of drinks across the board with the shaken espressos, etc., all come standard with oat milk. And I think they're just trying to kind of like drum up, you know, awareness for their new oat milk, you know, possibility. The thing is, every add-in, and especially every specialty milk add-in, contributes an extra price of at least 60 cents, depending upon your beverage. I don't love regular milk. I mean, I don't usually have lattes anyway, but lattes have a significant amount of milk. So what milk goes into a latte actually makes a big difference. Yeah. I don't know if I've really tried oat milk that much, but I do love soy milk, especially Silk soy milk. I just like the regular one. And I also enjoy almond milk, provided that it's kind of sweet. So I think Silk also has an almond milk, and I just like the regular one, like not the unsweetened one, the regular one that has a degree of sweetness to it. I have noticed for Starbucks that the soy milk that they use is very similar, if it's not soy, the Silk soy milk that's like the regular original kind that has the sweetness in it. So it's not an unsweetened soy milk that Starbucks uses. I love that soy milk personally, but I also know that it contributes amount of sweetness to your beverage. So that means that you can cut down on like the pumps of syrup that go into a specialty beverage, which I kind of like. I would rather have a more sweetened like soy milk than have an extra pump of like sugar just pumped into the beverage. Yeah, but it's completely up to you. I've noticed that the almond milk that they use is unsweetened. So for me, I don't like it that much. It definitely is almond forward, and I think it's an unsweetened almond milk. So that's that. Coconut, I think the same way. Their oat milk is somewhere in between unsweetened and sweetened. So it's in between the sweetness, I think, of the soy milk and of the almond milk, if that makes sense. And again, this is super unscientific. I'm not even tasting them in front of me, but that's kind of the sense that I get from having ordered several beverages over the last few years that have various different kinds of milks in them. I love the shaken espresso. So before they came back as shaken espressos, they were actually called Starbucks double shots because it's a double shot of espresso with milk the rest of the way and usually a classic syrup. And they took it off of the menu for like a decade. And you could just know like if you ask the barista at the register, can you give me a Starbucks double shot, always on ice? A double shot was not just a double shot of espresso. It was kind of like their trademark beverage that was this shaken espresso. So anyway, within the last like year or two, it has come back in earnest, which is great. And it's got a new name, shaken espresso, rather than the Starbucks double shot, which I could understand was kind of a little bit misleading and a little bit like, whatever. The thing I don't like is that with the price increases, when I ordered a Starbucks double shot just on its own, so they would just ring it up as like a double shot with added milk and with syrup. It was a fairly reasonable beverage in terms of the price. So when they just added up those discrete elements in their like, what is it, the OSS system? Is it an OSS system? I can't remember what the whatever. Anyway, when they would put it into the system, they would do it by element of the beverage, and it would end up being like a little bit more than an iced coffee. This was before cold brew, a little bit before iced coffee, a little bit more than that, but not significantly. Now that they've brought back the iced shaken espresso, it's like a crazy price. It's at least doubled in price, and it's like hard for me to justify now, which is like, back in the day, I preferred, even with the milk, and I'm usually a black coffee kind of girl, even with the milk, I preferred the Starbucks double shot or the shaken espresso over their iced coffee, which I found to be very flat, very acidic, very bitter. Now, since the cold brew has come out, I prefer the cold brew to all of them. And the cold brew is expensive, but it's slightly less expensive than the shaken espresso. Okay, close parentheses on all of that. I've got some experience with the milks, and at least the vendors and the products that they're using in terms of sweetness, it goes soy and now oat, and then like almond and coconut in terms of sweetness going down the spectrum. Okay. So in my 12 purchasings of this, I have substituted in various different milks just to see how well this one does, or this one does, or this one does. Initially, I did it with oat milk, and I liked it. I think oat milk is great for it, but I prefer soy. So this is a soy one, and I didn't like doctor it anymore. It doesn't actually have syrups. It has scoops of matcha, and I believe the matcha itself is sweetened. So it doesn't, to my knowledge, it doesn't have syrups in it. It just has the proprietary matcha powder, and then it's got this sweet foam cream on top, which is basically like a whipped cream that they have infused with a proprietary lavender kind of, probably syrup, to be honest. If there was syrup, it's in the lavender cream, and it's a sweetened lavender cream. So that's the situation. What I was trying to say when I began this conversation about milks is that they have automatically put the price of oat milk, they have added it into the price of one of these beverages. They become super savvy like that. Back in the day when you would order like discrete elements, and anytime that you can, you usually get a break. But now they have tried as much as possible to, they just have so many specialty drinks. So when you try to explain a drink to them, they'll be like, oh, that's the rainbow beverage. And then they'll like bring up rainbow beverage. And that beverage will be like 10 times more expensive than if you had just like actually on their a la carte menu put in the discrete elements. I don't know if this makes any sense to you at all, but basically, very savvy, they have packaged and trademarked almost every single combination of things and just put it in their OSS system as like POS, that's it, point of sale, that's it. They've put it in their POS system, and they can kind of manipulate the prices and keep them elevated, but and you can't really complain about it because that's just the way that that's the price that the beverage is set at, and this is the beverage, and I don't know if this makes sense. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that if you prefer regular milk in one of these, and you don't want the upcharge of having oat milk in it, it will not give you a reduced price. So the price that they give for this particular beverage is already taking into account the upcharge for oat milk. There's no way that you can like get that down. So even if you like change the milk, you know, like when you can customize it, if you change the milk to regular milk, it won't subtract the upcharge for oat milk. Okay. I feel like I could have said all of that more efficiently, and I haven't even gotten to like the taste of the beverage, and I apologize for that. A lot of minutia, but at the same time, if you're price sensitive, and I am, please be aware of all these things, yeah? All right, so this is gorgeous. I tried it in oat milk first, which was good. It does have like a aftertaste and even like an initial taste of oat, but it tastes really good. It's got like that nice oatiness with the matcha and with the lavender. It works super well. It gives it a little bit more texture in the taste rather than like an actual texture, if that makes sense. And is contributing a less sweet element with the oat, although the oat milk is sweetened, I think. So the oat milk is great, and it comes standard. If you don't customize it, it'll just come with the oat milk. Once very early on, I substituted soy milk in for it, and they gave me regular milk. It was whole milk. And I know because I was like walking down the street, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is whole milk. And within a block, I'm like, yeah, it's whole milk. They just messed up and gave me whole milk as opposed to soy milk. not something I would have substituted. I didn't go back, like it was fine. But I would definitely not have ordered that. But in the process, I've tried almost every single milk that you can put in this, with the exception of coconut. I did not try coconut because I love the lavender and I love the matcha, and frankly, I love the earthiness. And I was afraid that coconut might just take the drink in a different direction, and it might be a delicious direction, but it would be a different direction. Yeah. So soy is my favorite because soy, here's the reason why. Matcha has a little bit of a like powdery, dry bitterness to it, grassy bitterness. And this has a great deal of matcha in it. And I noticed that the soy cut some of that bitterness. It's sweet, and it has a certain kind of aftertaste that at least matches the aftertaste of the matcha, so that you're never left with a super chalky, bitter note. Now, if you love that chalky matcha bitter note and really just want it in all of its purity, then I would stick with the soy for sure. Not with the soy, with the oat milk, because the oat milk was not as heavy, it was not as full in terms of its mouthfeel, and therefore wasn't able to quite cut as much of that chalkiness. So in the oat milk ones, which I really liked, and there was a purity and a matcha burst because the oat milk is a lighter presence. But then the aftertaste for me was a bit chalky and a bit bitter. So that's why I preferred the soy milk. I think it stands up to, and I think enough matcha comes through with it, and is a little bit, the soy milk is a little bit sweeter. So I hope that that's helpful if you have any kind of thoughts about the milk that you could add in. The soy milk and the oat milk are very similar. I did try it with almond milk and I did not like it. It was not good. First of all, the beverage I think was actually not sweet enough, so it was even more like grassy, bitter, etc. And then it had the bitterness of the almond note as well. And it was too much. I would not try it with almond again, but again, like your personal preferences might be different, right? Okay, so that's all of the milks. This is, as you would expect it to be, a beautiful, fairly sweet green matcha, which has that grassiness, and it can have like a chalkiness, but they have made it so lovely. This lavender whipped cream, and usually they're like sophisticated premium whipped creams that they started doing about like 6 or 7 years ago, are fantastic. You get them on the top of cold brews now and various other specialty beverages. They are so great. Starbucks knows how to do that. And they know how to infuse a nice flavor into it and take that drink to like a completely different place. This is definitely one of them. And if you're worrying about the lavender coming across as like soapy or not beverage-like, don't worry about it. At least with this beverage, the lavender and the matcha work so well. They're so spring-like. There is like a real like botanical emphasis, but for some reason it just goes super gourmand. The lavender gives it a brightness, whereas the matcha is like very earthy and very grassy. The lavender kind of sits higher up in here, and this lavender is so sweet, and it takes it to that place without like being just like a caramel or something that would almost just kind of smother the matcha and take it to like not a botanical place. There's something so organic about this combination. It's perfect and it's delicious. And all of my friends who have tried it love it, even though they're kind of skeptical. So I really think that this is a delicious beverage. I was watching the Today Show about like a week and a half ago when the drink came out. And so the Today Show hosts all tried this one and then the flanker, which is just a straight up iced latte with lavender in it. So it doesn't have the cream. The lavender is infused in, and it's coffee rather than matcha. And let me tell you something, that drink is beyond disgusting. beyond, and nobody liked it, and some people like really hated it on the panel. And then I tried it once because they had a buy one get one free. It is beyond disgusting. Like, I had 3 sips of it and I threw it away, and I don't throw away Starbucks beverages, but there was no way I could get through that. So for you candle lovers, the pink lavender and espresso from Bath and Body Works, it's basically like you're drinking one of those. And as delicious as that combination is in terms of home fragrance, it is disgusting when indulged in when it goes into your mouth. It's like, what, internally digest? Yeah, when it's but I guess if you smell it, goes into your body too. But you know what I mean? Like, it just should not be digested. It's not okay. And the soapiness of the lavender totally came out with that espresso, and it was just like, why do we have this? This is gross. It didn't do the coffee any favors. It didn't do the lavender any favor. Like, it was no bueno. And I don't know if there is a version of coffee and lavender that would work, and for whatever reasons, Starbucks is just not nailing it, is not expressing it, is not executing it properly, but I cannot recommend this. So again, for you candle lovers, remember when Bath and Body Works, when they just dropped like the 33 candle and the 42, this is your 42. This is a winner. And that one's like the 33, which is like, but it's not really analogous because the 33 candle from Bath and Body Works wasn't terrible. It just wasn't good. That's all. This is actively terrible. So I cannot recommend to you the regular coffee latte with the infused lavender. I texted my stepmother because she's a district manager for Starbucks, and I was like, who likes this beverage? Like, am I missing something here? Is this just like a niche thing that like I'm not getting, but actually people love it? And she was like, no, nobody really likes it. But the matcha one is very popular. And I was like, yes, it is, for very good reason. And I'm not even a huge matcha person. Again, the lavender that doesn't work well with the coffee works beautifully with the matcha. This drink is so refreshing. It's just, oh gosh, there's just something vibrant about it, but also like it like quenches your thirst, which is why, by the way, I do recommend definitely the soy, but if you don't like the soy, at least stick with the oat milk, because I did feel as though the milks that kind of softened that bitter, chalky aftertaste were much better, because you still got that sense of like refreshingness in terms of the beverage itself. Whereas when you get that aftertaste of like the bitter powder, it kind of like, it feels, maybe it's just psychological, but it feels like it's sucking all of the moisture out of your mouth. You know what I mean? So for that reason, I would stick with either soy or for oat milk. If you want the soy, you just have to customize it. Either at the register, just say, hey, can you give me soy instead of oat on that? If you don't ask, they're gonna just give you oat. Or in the app, very easy to go ahead and customize in that way too. I highly recommend it. Even if you're not like a matcha person, give it a try. This is spring in a cup, and I think Starbucks really knocked it out of the park with this one. So I would really like to see this one come back, and I kind of suspect it will, especially if it's very, very popular. They just got done with pistachio, so they've got the pistachio into the matcha. I think it's gorgeous. The pistachio is kind of nutty, you know, but also has that beautiful like light green kind of aesthetic, which is perfect for like the transition from winter into spring, because pistachios can still have that kind of cozy vibe. But then this one is another green one to bring us into St. Patrick's Day and the spring with that lavender on top. It takes us one more green beverage into the spring, and now we're tasting really botanical, like grassy, like floral, like it's perfect. Perfect. And it's perfect for like late March into April. I highly recommend it, highly. And I have to give like 3 cheers and 2 thumbs up to Starbucks for this beverage, executed flawlessly. that's all I've got for you. Also, how appropriate is it that we just got done talking about the beautiful matcha candle from Kringle, the Serene Green line, and then we had like aloe and agave, which didn't have matcha in it, but aloe and agave from Yankee Candle. We've really had a moment with kind of like green candles, and definitely with green tea and matcha. Actually, there is green tea, at least, in the aloe and agave, even if it's not matcha. So how beautiful is that? I really think this is on trend for Starbucks, and yeah, gorgeous, gorgeous. I'll link the information down there so you can kind of look at like, you know, the calories and all those kinds of things and just kind of see what it looks like. But yeah, tell me if you've tried it. Did you love it? There have to be people who wouldn't like it, but I just feel as though it's so sweet and refreshing that I'll be surprised if it's a lot of people that don't like it. I don't know. And I'm a black coffee girl, super black coffee. Whew, man, that's good. Man, that's good. And I'm not too small to admit that the coffee one with lavender was like terrible, terrible. One of the worst beverages I think I've ever tasted from Bath & Body Works, to be honest. Yeah, definitely it has to be like one of the worst, if not the worst. Usually I can get through it. There was just no way. There was no way. All right, my friends, thank you so much for joining me. Again, happy Easter if you celebrate. Have all the cozy feels. Have carrot cake, please, today, because I love carrot cake. It is my favorite cake of all time. I am probably going to be in Ohio this week, although I have recorded some videos to carry me through the week. But it's my sister's birthday. I just had my birthday, so we're going to have a birthday moment this week. And I am bringing an amazing carrot cake from Wegmans home with me because I love Wegmans carrot cake. It is so fantastic. So I'm going to be bringing that, and we are going to be eating carrot cake this week. So have a slice of carrot cake for me today, and I'll see you in the next one.